Hey guys, Metal Viking 82 here, back with a video kind of showing a little package that I got from my buddy Jason Ellsworth. I've mentioned him on this channel many times before. Got a really cool package from him. I got a couple t-shirts in that package, but they're in the laundry, so I can't show them now, but I will try to show them in another video. But this is all about a project that he had a while back called the Tennessee Murder Club. And this was a death metal band formed back in 2009, lasted until 2016 out of Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And I actually got sent both of these albums from him in another package. But here recently, the band has launched a Bandcamp page, which I will leave a link to down below so you can check out this stuff and pick up copies for yourself and everything. And I told him, I was like, well, I want to buy, of course, some t-shirts and everything, but I also want to pick up some CDs, and I would love to get them signed. So I have both of their albums. Hopefully you can see that. And they are signed by Eddie G, aka Jason Ellsworth, and Buford Strange, aka C.R. Pettit. Of course, you know, they are both in Angerot, Suffer, Empty Throne. He asked me if I wanted him to sign their real names or as their stage name. I said, well, in this case, I think it would be cool to have them sign in your stage name. So yeah, I just kind of thought I would go over these here. Of course, you have their debut album, Carving a Legacy. This was put out by the band back in 2011. And then you have Human Harvest, which was their second and final album that was put out by Nail Jar Records in 2013. This is actually a CD and a DVD collection that has like live performances, various interviews, some music videos and things like that, and some really cool guests on here as well. The most notable ones for me, of course, were Steve Tucker from Morbid Angel fame. He does vocals on track number 6, Old Dead Eyes, and then Jack Owen, formerly of Cannibal Corpse, currently in 6 Feet Under. He did guitar guest spot on track 2, The Pact. But you also have Christopher Brooks of Advent of the Sun, Sean Kelly from Dim Mak, and Mike Flores from Origin and Troglodyte contributing vocals, guitar, and bass parts respectively on this album. But I also kind of figured that I would kind of go over these albums, give you an idea of what they sound like, because they're both actually really killer albums in my opinion. Starting with their debut, Carving a Legacy. Really solid album, very old school sounding, solid drum work on here, good drum production, really solid double bass and blast beats all over this thing. The bass has this nice thick tone, it's easily heard throughout the entire album. The guitars on here have that crunchy tone to them. Overall, they kind of have that old school death metal feel to them. You get the mid to fast paced riffs with some pinch harmonics, nice tremolos and chugs that at times sound just downright evil, but you also get, you know, some nice headbangable grooves in there as well, and even some melodic touches in spots, so it's not just all straight up brutality, and just some absolutely sick sounding solos. Listening to this, I can hear some Morbid Angel vibes on here. You can even get some Dying Fetus vibes at times throughout the whole album. Check out track number 7, Chloroform. That opener to that song has a very, you know, it sounds like a doomier version of Gateway's era Morbid Angel, and you get a nice, really killer, like chuggy groove at around 352 into that song. Track number 10 on here, Gray Matter. There's a really killer melodic twin harmony riff that comes in at the 434 mark right after the solo. So again, they match the brutality with some nice, you know, harmonic and melodic touches, so it's not one note per se. Vocalist Scum on here, which honestly, I thought Chad was going to be Scum, because the vocals on here really reminded me of Chad or CR, whatever you know him as. I thought it was him. Then I realized, oh shit, that's not him, because they kind of have a lot of similarities in their cadences and everything. But man, Scum on here just absolutely screams and just roars his guts out on this album, throwing in some nice traditional death metal growls as well. There's even a moment or two on here where he actually even sounds like Speed, you know, Bjorn Speed Strid from Soilwork, I thought. Some of the highlights when I listen to this, though, come track number 5, Spade and Lime. And no, we're not talking about the fruit here. This song actually opens with a clip of Charles Manson. You get these like news broadcasts going on at the same time. And then they kind of combine everything with this really creepy soundscape. Think, like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Sounds like that's what it would come from. And that not only adds a certain atmosphere to this song, but it just perfectly leads to this really chunky, chuggy riff that kicks things off proper for this song. Track number 9, Imperium. This is kind of like a short instrumental before the final bludgeoning of this album. This track consists of this, really creepy piano that was actually created, according to Jason, on the keyboards using like a harp preset, but they had some backwards delay added to it, and honestly, it sounds straight out of a horror film, I kid you not. And then when you get to track 11, Recluse, the final track on here, the piano pops up again right around the 4:58 mark after the music slowly fades, and this really ghastly voice comes in over the top of it and just really creeps you out, and I think is a perfect way to end this album. But yeah, really solid debut album from this band. And then, like I said, you get their second and final album from them, Human Harvest. Now, this is kind of a slightly different beast from Carving a Legacy, because this one definitely has a lot more emphasis, I think, on creating a creepier atmosphere. Starting with the intro to this album with the crow calls and, the background noise just kind of building up to a crescendo. And again, it's just like in a horror film. It just builds up to a crescendo before something epic is about to happen. Much like the last one, really killer drum work on here, good production on those, lots of solid blast beats and double bass. They're on point on here. The bass still is thick and right up in your face and really makes its presence felt. The guitars is where it kind of gets a little bit different on here. They still have that crunchy old school death metal tone to them, lots of killer grooves, lots of fast paced headbangable riffs and heavy evil sounding chugs. I mean, just listen to the one about 20 seconds into the title track on here, track 4, Human Harvest. It's got a nice chuggy groove with a nice, some nice double bass going on underneath of it at the time. But unlike Carving a Legacy, there aren't any songs on here that are tuned lower than A major. The debut had 4 on that album that were tuned to G major, and those were Polluted, Chloroform, Cyborg, Deathbed, and Recluse. And before you ask, yes, I had to ask Jason about that, because anybody that knows me knows I know absolutely jack shit about playing an instrument. And he told me that that's why I noticed a difference in the guitars on here compared to the other one. So all that came directly from him. So yeah, I didn't learn how to play guitar since my last video. No, I've not had this hidden talent. I got all that just talking to him. But yeah, again, Scum's vocal performance on here is absolutely killer as ever. He still reminds me in spots of Chad, but, I think really he carves his own identity more with this album, and I think he really grew as a vocalist with this album. And, going back to the whole creepy atmosphere part of this, I think the addition of keyboards on this album really bolsters that creepy atmosphere that they wanted to emphasize. And again, that's another difference. I think there might have been a few symbols of slight keyboard use on Carving a Legacy, but this one, they really, are good, a more bigger part, I should say, of the sound. Again, help bolster a creepier atmosphere, and it does make appearances, like I said, throughout, but they never overpower any of the other instruments. They're never too over the top or outstay their welcome. Track number 3, Infestigation. 45 seconds into that song, that is the first time you actually get to hear the keyboards coming in, and they kind of have these this haunting gothy sound to them. And it occurs during a particularly heavy, chuggy riff section. I think they really accentuate that riff in particular without outstaying their welcome. Like I said, they don't, get too over the top or overpowering. They also make another appearance about 3:20 into that song, giving that the whole thing kind of gives it a little bit of a melodic black metal feel, to be honest with you. Think Dimmu Borgir. The way it combines with that guitar riff, it just really reminded me of Dimmu there. And speaking of that song, listen to the riff at 3:46. That is seriously reminding you of the Halloween theme song. It's like, just as soon as I heard that, I was like, that's Halloween. But yeah, Then you get, track number 5, Death Warmed Over. This is kind of an instrumental interlude, kind of give you a little bit of break from getting your ass kicked from the first 4 tracks. And this actually has a very dark, kind of gothic, almost medieval vibe to it, a la Dracula, or something that Tim Burton might have come up with for one of his films. The church bell in that song, I think, really adds to the dark atmosphere of that song. And then, of course, one of my favorite parts of this album comes in track number 6, Old Dead Eyes, because at the end, there's a clip of the Iceman serial killer, who is, as weird as it sounds to say, he's one of my favorite serial killers because the man is just so fascinating to listen, about and read about. But it's a clip where he basically says, if you try to kill him, you better succeed, because the next time he sees you, he will kill you. And just really, again, adds to that dark, creepy atmosphere to this album. And yeah, go check this out. Go check out both of these albums. They are absolutely killer. Old school sounding death metal, dark and evil, full of just, killer riffs, killer vocals. And, like I said, the band is no longer together, but they have a Bandcamp up. You can get t-shirts, get the CDs and everything. But last thing I want to show you, though, is something really cool. It's one of the most unique pieces of memorabilia that I have. And he told, I forget how many he said they initially made of these. I think it was for a box set or something that he had talked about, but he said he only had 2 of these left, and he was trying to figure out who he could give it to, and I was lucky enough to be the one to get it, and hopefully this will show up really good on camera. But this is a saw blade with the Human Harvest artwork on it, or the general artwork on it. Now tell me that is not badass. And of course it has a little plastic thing to keep me from slicing the shit out of my fingers, which is a good thing because I need my fingers to do my job. If I was still working at Walmart, I could still work around that, but considering what I do for a living now, I really can't afford to cut up my fingers. So yeah, after this video, I'm going to find a really cool spot for this and put this up on the wall somewhere. Again, a really unique piece of memorabilia. I remember opening the package because I thought, man, for only having a couple CDs in here and a little extra something, this is awful heavy. And as soon as I opened it up, even though it was bubble wrapped really well, I looked at that and just at the top, I was like, that's a saw blade. That is cool. So yeah, Jason, thank you so much, dude. I love this. I love the albums. Yeah, go check out Tennessee Murder Club. Like I said, I will be leaving a link down below. I will leave a link down below for all of Jason's other projects that I can think of that have band camps, so you can check them out for yourself. Show this dude some support, because I've pretty much loved everything this guy has done. He's killer musician, great guy to talk to. Go see them live if they happen to be coming through your area, whether he be with Suffer or Anger Rod or one of his other projects. Like I said, Tennessee Murder Club is no longer together, sadly. But yeah, that is going to do it. Thank you guys so much for watching and subscribing. And until next time, stay brutal.